Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're looking at number 50 in the Max Pottag Preparatory Melodies to Solo work. And I haven't played out of this book for a long time. I did up through 49, and then for some reason I stopped. And recently I'm very excited. I got a new B flat, and it's different from what I had before, so I'm trying to get used to it. And I find these kind of little musical examples to be really helpful for discovering, what a horn can do and how responsive it is to, your music-making intentions, you might say. So I'm going to play number 50, and this is entitled Agavole, and it's translated lightly. I haven't looked that up yet, but I think it probably suffers a little bit from that translation. But what we're trying to get at here is the character of the music. These are very short, so I'm just going to play through it and then hopefully maybe give you a couple of ideas that you'll find useful in your own practice. Well, that was a little interesting. I get distracted, mentally distracted in the middle. And this happens to me a lot. I started thinking about various things that I was doing or going to do, and I didn't stay in the flow of the music. So a lot of times when that happens, I want to go back and see whether I actually know it. So I'm going to start in the middle. This is the pickup to the in the third line, the pickup to the second bar. So I'll play it a little bit more slowly. Now, the key when you're practicing etudes like this is to have a sense of what it is that you're trying to improve. And what most people do is they try to improve everything at once. So if there are note mistakes, obviously you go back and you try and correct those. And that was a pretty good flub the first time through. So I'm not sure I still know it yet, but I noticed a whole lot of things. And these things are what are distracting me when I'm practicing. So I noticed, ooh, that note's a little bit out of tune. I should fix that. Well, see, now I'm looking backwards, and that doesn't work when you're performing. Another one is, oh, that fingering pattern is a little bit difficult, and so now I'm not actually staying in the music. So first I have to find the pathway, as I've talked about before, and part of that is hearing it, part of it is the rhythm, and then you get into the details, like the articulation, which is an interesting subject for this particular one. But unless you have the basis of the patterns there, obviously you're going to be struggling every single time. And when you struggle, it creates tension in your body, and then you probably won't be tonguing well, your embouchure won't be working well, your breath is suffering, it might get a little stiff. You feel the tension coming in. That just means you're trying too hard. So everything we do in practice is try and move it back to the place where you're not trying so hard anymore. That means doing it in a simpler way. I slowed it down. That's one of the easiest things you can do. But you have to judge for yourself, well, what is it that I need to work on? So I saw a bunch of things. One is getting used to the horn. So as I go through, oh, see, that D is at a completely different place than on my other horn, on my previous B flat. So now I'm getting kind of picky, but if I can hear that a note is out of tune as I'm playing through, that distracts me. I know where it should be, and I'm hearing it where it should be, and yet I don't know the horn well enough yet to put it in the right place. Now, even if you're playing a horn that you're very familiar with, you might be struggling with the pitch, and that can be a huge distraction. So, very simple recommendation. Find the sound first. So as I play up and down, as I just did, so now I'm a little bit closer when I get all the way down to the A of feeling where that A really is. If I don't do that with my ear in terms of the pitch and with my body in terms of where the note actually finds the right place to vibrate in the horn, then I'm always going to be creating tension. So I'm looking for, in a sense, the most slip-slidey way to get through this. Now, of course, the more things slide, the more slippery they are, the more challenging they can be to control. But it takes a lot less effort to control when things are, you might say, well lubricated, flowing very, very easily. So these are some of the things that I'd be paying attention to. Now, one of the things in this piece that I find very challenging, and I do in most of these pieces, the next one it looks like I have some similar challenges coming up, is the dynamic changes. Here, mezzo forte, forte, then down to piano. What does that mean? I found that almost every trumpet player gets tight physically in anticipation of the challenge of playing either at the extremes of dynamics, either very softly or louder dynamics. Now, some people feel much more comfortable playing loud. Some people have better control when they're playing at a moderate dynamic level. That's very individualized, but it's the changes that are challenging. So one thing that I do, I'll just show you. I'm going to start at the forte on the second line. And play a little bit slower, just so I can find that slippery path through all the notes. So it drops down to piano. Bom, do, do, da, di. Immediately, subito piano, and then immediately back up to forte. Most trumpet players find that difficult to do. That's one reason why I really like these etudes. I remember when I first started working on them, it's like, wow, this is really challenging. This is frustrating. I can't do this. So what I do is as I get comfortable in one dynamic, and then I find the comfort zone, the balance point, with the breath and the chops in the other dynamic, and then I give myself time to make the transition. So even in forte, I'm kind of pushing it a little bit. I still haven't found the balance point quite yet. So that feels more like I'm singing. When I get to that feeling of how would you put it? Blowing free. There's not a feeling of pushing against something. It's just easy flow. Then I know I'm very, very close. And then my ear confirms that with the quality of the sound. So it's not that I'm trying to do anything too precise. I'm trying to do something very simple. It's complicated, but my body can figure it out and my ears can hear whether it's working. And in my opinion, that's the best way to practice. So I'm going to make the transition now that I've found the forte. That's interesting. Now, what most people do is they try and mechanically control it. They're trying to physically control the sound. And so what I'm going to recommend is, yes, it takes skills. You have to learn the skills. You need to practice the skills. And that's really what drills are for. But so when you find something like this, you want to see if you can make a drill. I just kind of turn that little transition from forte to piano into a drill for myself. But what really helps me is to get back into the music. And what's the music? The music is a feeling of gesture and flow and movement. It's not about controlling the volume by turning the knobs up and down, so to speak, right? So You want to avoid that way of thinking about it. Otherwise, your body will get tight. You want to feel more like it's a dance. So I'm playing forte. And it's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable now. I'm going to work on one more thing, and all these things are going to be in pretty much every kind of music that you play. You want to focus on one particular aspect, articulation, which is what we're going to look at next, or that maintaining that flexibility of sound throughout the register, throughout the dynamics. These are the fundamental things of trumpet playing. But when you get to the point where you're starting to have fun, and it feels like a dance, then get into the details. So I need to make a decision, and I was kind of making that as I went along. Now, I'm an orchestral player, so when I look at notation, I have a tendency to be very literal at first. So when I see a staccato markings, and then I see staccato markings with what looks like a slur marking, it might be a phrase marking, to me that could be meant as two different articulations. So if I'm going, I have a simple staccato, separated. Da, 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 da. That has a slur marking with the articulation at the same time. So it looks like staccato dots, but it has that slur marking. That can be kind of confusing. All these markings, all notation can be very confusing unless you're trying to think of it in terms of what should that sound like? What's the character? And this is very lighthearted to me. It sounds like a dance. It sounds very, very free. So we want to bring that kind of character in. Once we start focusing in on how I'm doing it or the specifics, the individual ingredients too much, we lose the general motion of the music. And so as we're practicing, it's going to be very important to give ourselves freedom to really find that character of the music. That's what opens everything up. Now, there's one spot that I noticed was particularly difficult for me. I tripped over it the first time. And it's understandable. It has one of those do da dee da 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 dee da da. You see how challenging that fingering is. Oh, da, try it. It's A, D, F sharp, D, A, D, F sharp, D, A, D, F sharp. So you're picking up and putting down your third finger, which, as we all know, is the finger that has the least sense of skill, shall we put it that way. It seems to be lagging behind the others in terms of the ease and the quickness of what happens. So I'm going to have to practice that individually. I might do it just the fingers by themselves, and then I might, put a burp or a brass buzzer into the horn and be buzzing that. And then I take it back to the horn. Am I still doing the fingerings? And I notice that sometimes for me, the flexibility comes pretty quickly, and the fingering stuff seems to be lagging behind. And I'll be honest, that's because I don't pay as much attention to it. You could be doing exactly the opposite. You might be paying attention to the finger action very, very intensively and be getting really good at it. But if your timing is not good with the breath and the chops, just for your basic sound production, it won't make too much difference that you have good fingers. So we're always trying to put the whole package together, and that's why I like these little etudes. Thanks for listening today, and I hope you've got a couple of ideas that you can start to apply in your own practice. If you don't have this book, I recommend that you get it, just because it's so different than most of the stuff that we play on the trumpet. Have a great day, enjoy your practice, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.